We had a full week off, and now we're back. UFC Vegas 37, Smith versus Spann is Saturday. It's a somewhat early card, so make sure you do your research early. It's not like in the morning on Saturday early, but it is not our normal 9 p.m. Central Time start time. So I'm going to walk through some of the highest price fighters, some of the lowest price fighters, and some solid picks in between. Let's talk about these guys, these girls, if they're worth it, what I think you should or should not do at some of these price points. So we're just going to go right through here. I'm going to start at the top. I came in here and I sorted this by price. If we take a look at Tsarukyan, so Tsarukyan is the real deal. Tsarukyan is an unbelievable wrestler. He has nasty striking that he's developed over time. I mean, he's the real deal. If you take a look at some of his fights, the combinations that he throws, and keep in mind, he's an unbelievable wrestler. And think about some of the combination he throws. He's going straight right, left high kick. He's doing spinning back kicks. He looked fantastic in his last few fights. If you can see here, the only loss is to Islam Makhachev, and everybody is going to lose to that guy because he is going to be a world champion. And in that fight, he still had control time. He still got his own takedown, and he landed a good amount of significant strikes. So listen, he is $9,600. That is one of the highest price points you will see. I don't know if I've ever seen $9,700. So he is a very, very expensive fighter, but I think he's going to be worth it. He's going to score well over 100 points. He's fighting Gallegos. Christos Gallegos, he's never out of a fight. He's a tough guy. We watched him get the crap kicked out of him and then pull off a submission in the second round recently. But I just don't think he has what it takes to survive just the absolute insane pressure he'll get during the wrestling exchanges. I don't think he'll be able to survive the stand-up. So I think Tsarukyan gets him out of there. He is a tough guy, so I don't know if Tsarukyan's going to get him out of there super early, but he will get him out of there, and I think he'll score the points. So $9,600 is probably a decent play. If you look at Montel Jackson over JP buys, listen, Montel Jackson's good everywhere. He's a massive favorite for a reason. $9,500 here, but the betting odds are even more ridiculous. He's like minus 600 favorite. He's good everywhere, and if you look at his stats here, he's had decent control time in some of his fights. He puts up solid points, 116, 51 in a loss is actually a good amount. And that was a loss where he was out-wrestled. So he lost to Johns. He was out-wrestled in that fight. He still put up 51 points, which honestly, in a loss, is not bad. 148, 109, 96. So when he wins, he does score a good amount of points. The problem is $9,500 is a lot of money. And if I'm deciding between him at $9,500 or Tsarukyan at $9,600, I probably would spend the extra 100 on Tsarukyan because as we saw with Jackson's fight against Johns, there is a path to victory for JP Buys. JP Buys can wrestle. We didn't see it in his last fight, but he can wrestle. And if he's game planning, if he's doing the right things, I think he's going to come out and wrestle hard, wrestle often, and try to take away all of these skills that Montel Jackson has. I don't know how successful JP Buys is going to be, but he may be able to stifle some of the offense. He may be able to slow Montel Jackson down, keep him at a lower number. So, Montel Jackson, I'm not going to put him in my lineup. $9,500, a lot of money to spend when there is a path to victory, where if you look at Tsarukyan at $9,600, there is no path to victory for Gallegos. Obviously, it's a fist fight. Anything can happen, but there's no clean path to victory there. Let's take a look at Erin Blanchfield. So Erin Blanchfield, it is another good fight. Erin Blanchfield is she's a nasty grappler. She's super young. People like to compare her to other – she's making her debut here, so no stats. People are comparing her to some other incredible world-level grapplers, and she's not at that level. She's just very good. Erin Blanchfield is going to win. Alpar is a good wrestler. And honestly, the problem is she doesn't have much control. She's a good wrestler. She'll get it to the ground. And then from there, she starts to lose positions. She starts to get sloppy. She starts to be where she's not supposed to be and will probably get caught in something. $9,400 with a probable stoppage, probably be a submission win here. That might be worth the price. Erin Blanchfield may be worth it at $9,400 because there will probably be a submission here because Alpar will get it to the ground. And then even though she's a good wrestler, she's not a controlled wrestler. She doesn't just maintain the position. She gets sloppy and ends up on the wrong side of some exchanges. So again, Montel Jackson 95, there's a path to victory there, but Aaron Blanchfield should probably get a stoppage 9,400. Sarukian should probably get a stoppage 9,600. So I think those two are better plays. Let's take a look at Buckley. Joaquin Buckley, known for one of the most spectacular knockouts in the history of time. And it will be that way for a while. So he's fighting Arroyo. Arroyo is absolutely incredibly massive for this weight class. He's tremendous. He's tall. He's big. He's thick. He's all of those things. And Joaquin Buckley is short and stocky. His opponent likes to fight at distance. He likes to bounce in and out. He's got a traditional martial arts background. So he likes to keep his hands up, bounce on his toes, come in and out, kick to the body, stuff like that. Where Joaquin Buckley likes to charge forward, blast the head, blast the body, use his big power and his speed to make things happen. I actually think he should do well coming forward. He should do well getting to the body and making something happen. So I think Joaquin Buckley, $9,300 is a lot of money. I think he's going to win this fight. I think it's a good matchup for him as far as physicality is concerned. Arroyo has issues backing up, and Joaquin Buckley comes charging forward and has that power. So Arroyo will likely be backing up. I just don't know if Joaquin Buckley's going to put him out. I don't know if he'll put him out early. And $9,300 is a lot to spend. I'm probably not going to spend that money, but Joaquin Buckley should win this fight and should put on somewhat of a show. Let's take a look at Tony Gravely. Tony Gravely is fighting Maness. Maness is very well-rounded. He's good everywhere. He's good absolutely everywhere. And a lot of people have him as a really good underdog pick. And honestly, he probably is a solid underdog pick. The reason I like Tony Gravely here is, he is pretty one-dimensional, right? His goal is big shots, get it to the ground, traditional ground and pound style. But he is very effective at that ground and pound style. So if you watch our full fight breakdown, I'm not betting on Gravely to win. I'm not betting on anything on Gravely. I actually put a little bit of money on Nate Maness to win this fight. I didn't put money on him to win the fight. I bought 3.5 points on the judges' scorecards, which means all he has to do is win one single round, and then I'll win my bet. In DraftKings, I don't know if I'm grabbing Tony Gravely. It's a hard number. $9,200 is a hard number because Tony Gravely should get some takedowns. And you can see here, 4 takedowns, 7 takedowns, 5 takedowns. And takedowns are worth 5 points each. So that adds up very, very quickly. So Tony Gravely could score a lot of points with the takedowns. Then you factor in control time and look at the points that he's put up in his last few fights. But Nate Maness is a different opponent than Burchak was. He's a different opponent than DeFreitas was. So Nate is very well-rounded. And I think what's going to happen is Tony's going to come out, have a good first round, good second round, fade hard. Nate will win the third round, but Tony will probably win the overall fight. It's up to you if you want to spend the $9,200. When he imposes that ground and pound game plan, he puts up some solid points. And he does well. But Nate Maness is a really tough opponent, an underrated opponent. It's a little tricky. We'll see what my lineup looks like. But $9,200 is right. If he was 88, 8,900, I'd spend it in a second. 92, I got to see what else I do with my lineup. And let's look at Anthony Smith. So Anthony Smith, main event, nasty hands, solid kicks, good jiu-jitsu. His wrestling sucks, but he's one of the toughest fighters on the planet. Go to the breakdown. I'll remind you about how his teeth were knocked out of his face and he picked them up and handed them to the referee and continued to fight. So he's one of the toughest guys you'll ever see fight. But Ryan Spann has power for centuries. And he could put Anthony Smith or anybody else out with the right shot at the right time. So I don't know if Anthony Smith is worth the $9,100. I think he wins just based purely on toughness, his versatility. Ryan Spann is slow. Anthony Smith is fast and accurate. So I think Anthony Smith, his path to victory is bounce around, stay on the outside, touch up Ryan Spann, move, touch him, move, avoid the big shots. But he has to do that for 25 minutes. If he does that well for 25 minutes, he might put up some solid numbers, but it's all going to be significant strikes. There's not going to be a takedown here. I don't think there's going to be a stoppage. So I don't know if he's worth the $9,100 because I just don't know. I just don't know how many points he's going to be able to put up. I really don't. I mean, his last 2 fights, he won by stoppage, and he had some decent numbers. I don't know if he's going to win by stoppage here. So I'm probably avoiding Anthony Smith, but we'll see what happens. And let's take a look at the last 9,000 fighter. We have Ion Cutelaba. He's got power. He fights with reckless abandon. He's very technical, but he will put his body on the line. He will risk it all to chase a finish. He will go out there, and he doesn't care if he gets knocked out, if he's chasing a knockout himself. Devin Clark is a very good wrestler. He uses his striking to set up takedowns, basically. He has no power, but his wrestling is well-timed. Devin Clark can't put anybody out, can't stop anybody. Cutelaba can stop anybody or get stopped. So it's an interesting fight, a very interesting fight. I think Cutelaba is the pick for sure. I like the over on rounds. I bet the over on rounds here. And if you want to see the full betting breakdown, go to wewantpicks.com/bets. But for this DraftKings breakdown, $9,000, this is a really hard fight to call. And honestly, if he came out here and put Devin's lights out, because Devin came in with his big shots looking to set up a takedown, and Cutelaba just capitalized and lit him up, I wouldn't be surprised, and he would earn that $9,000. $9,000 is a lot to spend on a guy who gets stopped pretty often, on a guy who has 1 win in his last 5 fights. Cutelaba is a real deal. Cutelaba is better than Devin Clark. Styles make fights. But Devin Clark could hold Cutelaba down this entire fight, could take him down and hold him there. So I think Cutelaba wins. If they fight in the pocket, Cutelaba is going to knock him out and be worth every penny of that $9,000. If they don't fight in the pocket, and he wants to stay on the outside, and Devin Clark gets to do his wrestling, then Cutelaba is not going to win, let alone score any points. So that's the 9,000 fighters. Let's go right to the bottom. We'll quickly go through the cheapest fighters. We did Gallegos on the other side of Sarukian. I just don't see that happening. Do not touch that. $6,600. You will never get that money back. It will never happen. We talked about JP Bays and Jackson. JP Bays, listen, only put up 13 points in his last fight because he was knocked out cold immediately in his UFC debut. This is a very different fight. I don't think Montel Jackson is going to be able to knock out JP Bays as quickly and effectively as Bruno Silva did. But JP Bays may get some takedowns. Listen, $6,700, depending what your budget looks like, and if you only have $6,700 left, JP Bays, Sarah Alpar, pretty similar situations, right? Both have wrestling ability. Both can put up those 5 points each. The difference is Blanchfield will probably submit Sarah Alpar. Blanchfield wants to be on the ground, and when she gets there, she's going to do her thing. So I wouldn't touch Sarah Alpar either. But JP Bays at $6,700 might be able to make something happen. He honestly might be. Montel Jackson, massive favorite, should win. But there is a path to victory for JP, and that's clean strikes and solid wrestling. And when you hit the mat, just keep it there and do what you're going to do. And we've seen that happen to Montel before. So $6,700 might be a solid play for JP Bays. Then we have Arroyo over Buckley. Listen, $6,900. That's not a bad price. That really is not a bad price at all. So I told you I have Buckley winning that fight. I think he comes in, he moves forward. Arroyo has issues backing up because he has that that traditional Taekwondo style. He likes to dictate. He likes to come in, come out, bounce around, land his kicks, and move on. But he is massive for the weight class. He throws a ton of those body kicks. And if he starts catching Joaquin Buckley, like Buckley has solid power. He marches forward. He's got great speed. But if Antonio Arroyo can move left to right really well and Matador Buckley, right? Antonio Arroyo steps to the side, bang, blasts him in the body with a kick. Moves to the other side, blasts him in the body with a kick. All of a sudden, Joaquin Buckley's forward pressure and power is gone because his body was lit up with those kicks. So Antonio Arroyo in this underdog spot at $6,900 is not a terrible play. So obviously, he's on a bit of a skid here. But Buckley, it's coming off a pretty bad loss himself. Sometimes he does not let his hands go when he should. So $6,900, that's not a terrible pay. Under $7,000, depending what your budget is, he honestly may be able to put up some numbers and get Buckley out of there. Let's take a look at Nate Maness, $7,000. That is a great price for Nate Maness. Nate Maness is very good. Very good. He is good everywhere. And look, he puts up solid points. 73 points in a decision is not bad. And that was a bunch of significant strikes and 1 takedown. So that's not bad. He is volume. 158 total strikes in that fight. Obviously, a stoppage, you're going to get a bunch of points. You get the stoppage bonus and things like that. But he does have solid volume. He is a well-rounded guy. Nate Maness is a lot of people's picks. I'm doing Tony Gravely because he is just so effective with the ground and pound. But, I told you I bet on Nate Maness. I bought 3.5 points on the judges' scorecard. I think Tony Gravely is going to get tired with all that wrestling, and Nate Maness is going to start to pour it on, win a round, and he could very well win this entire fight. It's a very close fight to pick. $7,000. I think that's a great price point for Nate Maness. And depending on your budget, he should probably be in your lineup. Now let's take a look at some of these middle-of-the-road fighters. High 7s, mid 8s. And we have a few. I mean, it does start to get tricky when we start looking at that price point. I mean, we have Mata and Van Camp. I wouldn't touch this fight at all. It's a sloppy fight. Mata making his UFC debut. It's just his real UFC debut. He came off Contender Series. I really wouldn't touch this. He's a good striker. He's explosive. He's athletic. He moves well. But Cameron Van Camp, he's replacing Jim Miller. He is a brawler himself. He'll come out. He'll throw big, heavy bombs. And he's got sneaky submissions. I imagine there's a good amount of sloppy back and forth. And I'm just not confident enough in either one of these to grab. We don't have a price on Van Camp just yet. The odds makers have Nicholas Mata, a massive 3-1 favorite. I am not seeing that. I do think he wins this fight. He's my pick. But 3-1 favorite, I don't see that. If you agree with that, though, then $7,900 is a phenomenal price point. And we've talked about this many, many times over. DraftKings does not change the prices when there's an opponent change. They've said you're worth this much money, and that's where you stay. I love that they don't change the price. It's kind of crazy that they don't, because your value should absolutely be associated with your level of opponent. So, I mean, let's take a $9,500 fighter, for example. All of a sudden, if they make a couple changes, he's fighting the world champion. Is he really worth $9,500 still? So I don't know what they're going to value Van Camp at. I just don't like Mata at almost $8,000. Rong Zhu at $7,600. That's not a bad price at all. I mean, Rong Zhu he's a good striker. He picks his shots well. He's got solid power. When he's marching forward, when he's dictating, he has some success. He's very technical. Dakota Bush is tough, is gritty, will stay in his face. I think Dakota Bush wins this fight. But as far as DraftKings is concerned, and I know a lot of people like Rong Zhu or Zhu Rong to win this fight, $7,600. He's got solid power, good technique. Dakota Bush can get a little sloppy at times when he's just coming forward. So I could see Rong Zhu winning that fight and being worth that money. Let's take a look at Alatang. So Alatang is a solid fighter as well. This is another pick'em style fight. $8,400 for Alatang, for a guy he'll be the more technical fighter in this matchup. He's more diverse than Gustavo Lopez, his opponent, meaning he'll mix up his strikes a little more. And he's, because he's technical, he can struggle with a brawler style, meaning somebody who just comes in with big wild hooks. Haley Alatang likes to pick the shots, likes to be technical, stay in a rhythm, do what he's supposed to do. And if Gustavo Lopez is coming at him with the big winging shots, as we've seen him do, that could frustrate Alatang a bit. Alatang also has more tools in his bag. He can wrestle, he can grapple, and you can see that here in the stats, actually. 4 over Banao, 3 takedowns with Bagarai. And Casey Kenny was a phenomenal wrestler, so Casey Kenny obviously didn't allow that to happen on his end. But I don't necessarily see Alatang dictating the fight with his grappling, but he does have that in his bag. $8,400. Alatang is probably the best pick at that price point. I think Lopez can frustrate him, stay in his face, give him a hard time. But Alatang's got tools in the bag, different ways to win. I think Alatang is probably a solid pick at $8,400. So those are my breakdowns with the expensive fighters, the cheap fighters, and a couple of in between. Let me know what you guys are doing, what you guys think. If you want more information and more breakdowns on every single one of these fighters, go to the fighter breakdowns. I talk about every single matchup in detail. Don't forget to join our free DraftKings league, wewantpicks.com/DraftKings. It is a free league. It's free to join. It's free to play. And we give you money if you win. If you win the free league and you're a subscriber, I give you $15. If you're a member, I give you $30. But this week you get $60. Our buddy Joe Todoro won last time, and he said, keep the money, give it to the next winner. So we're taking that. He's a member, so we're upping the member side of this. If you are a member of this channel, we give you $60 this week. $60. Become a member. There's a join button under the video. Click it. It's a couple of dollars to become a member, but you can win $60. Give it a try. We'll see you Friday for our final breakdown.